welcome to the show. We had a technical difficulty like a few minutes ago, but we are back on the air right now. It's the Afro Alien live show, and we want to welcome you wherever you're watching us. Those who will watch this video later, you're welcome. It's going to be a very interesting show today. Today we're going to be talking about the rift between African Americans and Africans. So we have a long video that we are going to be reviewing. We're going to be like playing clips of it and then making comments. So this is what this Afro Alien channel is all about. So we welcome you aboard with us. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. I hope you enjoy this show. I hope you like it. And I definitely think you're going to like it. If you like Africa, if you like Africans United, you're going to like it. So it's going to be a lot of stuff that you've probably had before, or stuff you've experienced, or stuff you like, or stuff you don't like to hear. It's going to be all on this show. So every black guy, wherever you are, this is the show for you. Every African, wherever you are, this is the show for you. You're welcome. And my brother Scott is ready, and I want to welcome him right now. Hi, Scott.
Hello. Hey, how's it going? How's it going, Loyola? Thank you once again for having me on this show. I'm excited about it. And, I haven't seen the video yet, so, I'll have a chance to see it and we could discuss it.
Yep. So, yeah, it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. And, yes, I'm excited about it. So we are going to go straight into it. We're going to be playing clips. It's going to be a long clip, but otherwise. So it's going to be like, I don't care. It's going to be 1 hour of every series. And then we'll begin from wherever we stopped. So anyways, let's go straight into it. Okay.
Hey everybody, I'm just giving people time to get in the room. I'm just waiting to see if people are going to come in the room. I don't know if they're still in that other room. But I left because I can't have a conversation with people. Like, it's so childish. Instead of having an authentic conversation, they're talking about government conspiracies and the FBI and, the United States invading Africa. And we're trying to talk, I guess, broken family, Africans to Black Americans. And hold on, Marcel. Hey, Marcel. You there? Marcel, I sent you a mic. Let's see. Marcel, I sent you a mic. Can you hear me?
Hey Scott, can you hear this correct? Can you hear it okay?
No, I cannot.
Oh, you cannot? Oh man, I don't know how. I mean, I think I hear everything okay, but I don't know if you're not hearing anything.
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay, let me. Oh my God, I don't want to be like making it super loud on my side, but let me see. Let me try. Let me know if you hear anything.
Okay.
Let's go back to it.
Hey everybody, I'm just giving people time to get in the room. I'm just waiting to see if people are going to come in the room. I don't know if they're still in that other room. But I left because I can't have a conversation.
It came on for a brief second, but I can't hear anything.
It's so childish.
No.
Instead of having an authentic conversation, they're talking about government conspiracies and the FBI and,
I'll fix you.
The United States invading Africa. And we're trying to talk, I guess, broken family.
Okay, I guess what we're gonna do. I'm gonna play the Grapevine video as it plays, and then I'm gonna be fixing your sound, and then we'll go back to this one. Okay, I'll play the Grapevine one. Let it go.
Break it down, break it down, break it down, break it down.
Welcome to the Grapevine. I'm your host, Ashley Akuna. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the rift between Africans and African Americans. You saw the African panel, now here's the African American panel. Give us a round of applause. Okay, So obviously we all know that there's a rift, and I wanted to have a separate conversation so everybody can air out their grievances, their ideas, or their opinions on this rift. Who wants to start? Don't all raise your hands at once. Or do you even think that there's a rift? Okay, go ahead, Aisha.
I was almost surprised. I know that there are, maybe not a rift, but that there are different perceptions across communities throughout the diaspora, but we went to the same high school. And our high school, there was
Let me know at any point when you start hearing.
And there was a mix of people from Nigeria, from Ghana, from Haiti, from Jamaica. I mean, it was just a very, very diverse community. And so you could not have gone to the high school without having friends who were from all parts of diaspora. And to this day, my two best friends are from Nigeria and Ethiopia. Like, so I was like, rift? Like, I don't really see. I know you guys have your family didn't go through American slavery, but I don't really see that much of a difference because we're both all in this experience together, and white people are judging us just the same. I think.
Okay, go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, I feel similar to that. Growing up, I always joke about it. My best friends are African, but like legitimately, like my best friends were first generation. So entering my friends' households, I felt judged immediately.
Okay.
But that went away very quickly.
When it got
I think, right, once I showed that, I was respectful and, like I treated, I said Mr. and Mrs. and was a kind person. And now those parents feel as though I'm one of their kids. And, a lot of my friends' parents will say, that's another one of my kids. So I am familiar with the rift because I hear the conversations.
Yeah.
To a lot of my friends' parents, am not one of those. But I feel like maybe the rift
What do
is
you think not one of those?
Mouse. Perfect example. One of those. I feel like a lot of African families feel as though Americans, specifically Black Americans, take their privilege for granted. And I hear the words lazy. You hear the words ungrateful.
Okay.
Things like that.
You've heard.
These are things that I've heard in conversations.
Okay, so go ahead, Jameer.
Okay, no, but I was gonna say
now.
I'm in it now. You can be. I seen your hand.
I did. I was waiting. Let me talk. I had the floor. No, I completely agree with Doug. I think sometimes, especially like growing up, I had another job. A person of African and I think Guyanese descent. I held the door for her. She walked out the door, came back, and said, where you from? I was like, I'm from Brooklyn, She's like, no, where your parents from? I was like, African American. She was like, it's very hard to get African American young youth who have manners. And it struck, she was like, most of them are, just ignorant and all this, and just went on about her day. And I had a lot to think about. I was just like, wait a minute. Like, I know my parents.
Was that the first time you had heard anything like that?
Yes, like personally about me, because like growing up, I was very involved in like my parents are Afrocentric, so we still kept the American roots, but I knew about.
Your parents Afrocentric too, Aisha?
Incredibly.
That's probably
right. Yeah, I grew up, we understood Kwanzaa, the principles of just maintaining organization. So I assumed everybody was black. If you black, you were black. So growing up, I never saw the rift, but as I got older, I started to hear more comments like, y'all have no culture, y'all don't understand where y'all come from, or y'all are taking things for granted, y'all privilege for granted, and it just caused me to think. So now I see the rift, but
you've been more cognizant of it.
Yeah.
It definitely feels like when speaking to older Africans and like that middle age, maybe like 30, 35 and up. It does feel like when you're talking to them, you're kind of speaking to like a white person. Like they're very condescending, looking at you, as if they're very respectability politics driven.
And what do you mean by that?
Like they're very, pull your pants up and you shouldn't act like this and you shouldn't do that. And it's like, yo, I'm black, I'm good. Like I was born, I'm no matter what I do, I'm gonna be black. I don't think, and this could be just my ignorance. I don't think they understand that you can't lose your blackness. You're gonna be black regardless.
So do you think Africans are trying to lose their blackness?
I definitely don't think they're trying to lose as much as they're trying to assimilate. It seems that to me. It seems that until a situation, and once again, this is just based on what I see, until a situation forces them to, look at it as, oh, I was treated like this because I'm black, they're very, ignorant towards it.
Okay, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that you don't see the rift until you get into a values discussion, into a values and culture discussion. Because I could go, just the same thing, you go to any high school, you go to any college, all the black people are going to gravitate to one another, and then once you start speaking and finding out, oh, these are the Nigerians, like you feel like Nigerians are everywhere in my life, at every facet I feel around, but Nigerians, right? Like these are Nigerians, Ghanaians, everyone.
So what do you mean about values? What do you mean about values?
What you appreciate, like similar to Jameer's experience with holding doors open. That kids should be respectful at all times. You should be deferent to those older than you. You should say please and thank you. You shouldn't come out the house looking a certain way because what would everybody else think? Like things like that where they feel as though, and I think it goes to the whole part of the whole aspect of us, quote unquote, not having a culture, because our culture has been defined by our experience with slavery, as opposed to Africans. Like, we would love to know what our culture is. I would love to know where my family came from, but what I have is the culture that our culture, first off, is based off of our struggle and our experience, breaking our bondage, getting our freedom, and going through the struggle that is the black experience in America, which is primarily the African American experience, because we live in a country, Africa's looked at as the city of the hill to us, because that's where I don't know where my ancestors, after probably, my name is probably one of the top 5 most common names ever in this country. Johnson. My last name is Johnson.
Yeah.
So it's like, other than Smith and Jones, it's like mine is
Williams,
and this is because a man owned my family years ago, and when you go trace all the way back maybe 2 or 3 generations, it's because we were designated by who owned us, and I don't know where,
So I hear the idea of not having a culture has come up quite a bit. Do you agree with that, or what is your issue?
we do have a culture.
Yeah, so
I've said that on this panel before, like, our culture, and just being honest, our culture as African Americans is that of slavery, that of struggle. That's what our culture came from. That's where we came from, and we made the best out of that. And that is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there is more, but we don't.
But that's the starting point.
Yeah, we just don't know.
Music is our culture.
I see. Jazz, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I actually have a question. I'm wondering, I've heard several people say that a lot of African people talk about us not appreciating our privilege. I want to know what that privilege is.
Like being born in
the United States.
As an African person here, what I will say is that a lot of people don't understand that in most African countries, like, you have to pay for school. There is no, there's infrastructure in terms of healthcare.
Like elementary school?
Like, no, school. All school.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you don't have money, you don't pay. So so a lot of Africans that come here, education is the key. So when they see people not really taking advantage of that, that's a privilege. But did you want to say something, Indigo?
Yeah, I think the rift derives from the miseducation and misconception on both sides. But we're both fed about Africans in America as being this primitive place, this uncivilized place, and we took you, we saved you from that place and enslaved you and Christianized you, and you should be grateful, and then we decided to free you, but you don't want to be associated with that quote-unquote primitive place that we are told we come from. And on the other side, Africans are getting all these negative perceptions of, Black Americans, that when I went down to Ghana, people would lead with these negative perceptions of Black Americans when they met me.
So what did they say?
Like, I expected you to be loud and smoking weed and aggressive. I got called a slave a couple of times. Yeah, when I was in
what context? People called you a slave?
So I actually got called a slave by a Nigerian in Ghana.
You a lazy slave.
Okay. Are you? Can you hear me, Scott?
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Wait. I need to switch back to this. And then I need to get this situated. I don't want that view. Okay. Perfect. Okay. All right.
We'll make it all right.
Okay, all right,
We're gonna make
okay, all right. Today is crazy. So, anyways, I've been listening to that video. And you said you already listened to it, and actually,
Yes.
everything is live and sweet right now. I checked on live, and everything is clear. The sound is clear out there on the live stream.
That's good.
Everything is okay. But the good thing is that you did hear that video. And in that video, of course, there's issues going on, and there's these issues that Africans and African Americans have been going through. Like people in that video, they call it beef. In the video that I wanted you to comment on, which we shall do probably starting the next episode. This episode will probably do the grapevine one, and this is something that you are in the best place to comment about, because you've been to Africa several times, and you're African American, and maybe you're in the best docket to tell me why. Is it true that there is a beef? There is an ongoing beef between Africans and African Americans. Is that something you can agree is going on?
I guess there are people that have this issue. I myself never really had an issue, you know what I mean? But, I would imagine that sometimes people of different cultural groups can have their, differences or misunderstandings, but I'm really more aware of the beef or the riff more so from just things that I hear online. You know what I mean? And I don't want to minimize anyone's experiences. I know my wife is Haitian. She's Haitian American, and she told me about her experiences in public schools, at a time when her family came up from Haiti in the 80s. So during the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, and how there would be kind of a beef between African American students and Haitian students and stuff like that. But then she said that after the Fugees, the group the Fugees with Wyclef, two of the members were Haitian. And she said kind of like after their popularity, it kind of like made Haitians more cool or more acceptable or something like that, So, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. So, and I think a lot of it, I think these kids too were addressing how a lot of people kind of grew out of it at a certain point. But I heard other people talk about the Haitian African American beef, usually amongst students, kids, as well as someone in New Jersey. Out here in Ohio, where I grew up, we didn't have many Haitians. We might have had some Jamaicans. And then when I went to school, I never went to school with any kids from Africa, but there's more African immigrants now. And the building that I grew up in, at a certain point in time, it was a Jamaican-owned building. So it was mainly black people that lived there, but you also had Jamaicans. You would also have Africans that moved into the building. And I mean, we got along fine, but, I'm pretty sure anytime people cook a different meal, have a different sounding name, an accent, and then of course, places like Haiti and Africa are always portrayed in a very negative type of image through Western media here to us in America. So some people can form opinions, or a lot of it can just be stuff that they have based on their own ignorance of another culture. So obviously these issues can exist. Or sometimes you will hear some people say things, oh, Africans don't like us, but I've never had that really experience. You know what I mean? Of course, you're gonna run, if you run into someone who's rude or mean or whatever else you don't get along with, that's just going to happen, period. But maybe I have a different type of a personality or something, but I've pretty much for the most part, I've always gotten along with Africans or other black people from the diaspora, But yeah, you got narrow-minded individuals who could be rude. Just gonna be real with you. You got some people that are rude and stuff. But I don't know what your experiences have been like.
Yeah. I mean, I have never had bad experiences with African Americans. I think most of our differences have been like these are Americans and they don't have a culture like we do. I think the differences we have with African Americans is they are cultural. They are so cultural. And even those cultural problems we have with African Americans, we have with every African. Every African you're going to find is going to have some kind of culture that is against the other black guy next door.
Mm-hmm.
And when you came to Africa, you did realize so fast that these people are different, even if they're all black. There's different cultures and different tribes. And some don't even get along well. In Uganda right now, we have the Karimojong, who are actually like Northeasterners, and they are armed. They have guns. They have AK-47s. The government has tried their best to disarm them, okay? So the government has done a good job to disarm them, but that is for political reasons. But their culture has always been armed. They are an armed culture. They have AK-47s. And the reason they have AK-47s is because they are pastoralists. They take care of cows. And they believe, they have a theory, a cultural belief, very strong one, that every cow in the world belongs to them. And they will go look for it and bring it home.
Yeah. I met a Karamazong while I was in the pop.
Yeah, so what they do...
He'd share that. They believe that every cow... to them.
Yeah, so they are raiders. They are raiders. They go raiding cows in neighborhoods, in next towns, in other cities. They go and bring home every cow they meet on the way. They set loose every cow and take it home. And so, and then they have like the Itesots who are next to them, who are also, they also like, They own cows too because they are close to each other. They have the same. Their cultures are close, so close. They are actually they share very many words in their languages. Their languages are very similar to each other. Now those ones are not armed, but so they become the victims of the Karimajongs every single time.
And the Ateso, like the Karamojong, to my understanding, are a bit more like. They're not into like the modern stuff, so they kind of more traditional life. Like they have AK-47.
They're like the Samai of Kenya. They just wear like long, like aprons and long coveralls, just to protect a few parts of their bodies. Like they're very much old school. And you'll find some of there who are very primitive and they are naked. They're walking naked, but with an arm, with an AK-47.
AK-47, yeah.
Now those are the real ones. They're down there, very hardcore Karimajongs. So my point is to, I guess my point is to reveal this to African Americans over here. Hey, African Americans. We are not against you. We are just so full of culture. We have a lot of cultural rules that we have grown up under, and a lot of we approach things in a very cultural manner. If we look at black people and we say, where does it come from? From which culture is it from? That's how Africans think. Africans people don't just look at you and say you're black. Oh, you're my brother. Because you're black. No, we ask questions, and that is why. We are very slow to invite people into our inner circles because we have to make sure that we are not coming against our culture. We are not ruining our culture. We are trying to protect a certain culture. And you'll find others who are from different cultures who are very open-minded because their culture kind of opens up a little bit more than others,
True.
So I think, and it comes up in one of those videos that we are going to be reviewing, some African Americans are like, we don't have a culture like they do, and they admire that. Some African Americans really admire the fact that we have culture, and some of them are trying to identify with a culture in Africa. So they are like, and I understand that they are like, they want to come into our culture, and then we are closing these doors because we don't trust them into this culture. We are not opening up. And I know it happens quite a lot. We are like, does he have good intentions? Is he really serious? Does he really want to get into this culture? What is he trying to do? Like, we are very cautious and very protective. And that is one of the things that African Americans need to know. If I needed to pass it on there, I want African Americans to know that, hey, we are very cultural people and very protective, depending on which culture we come from. And did you experience such differences when you moved from place to place in Africa? Like, were there differences among Africans depending on where they come from?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, right there in Uganda, you got 60 different languages, I believe, spoken.
Right.
So different regions, is it kind of like with the different cultures, more so kind of the region. Like if you're in the Central Kingdom, the cultures are more similar as opposed to the North. And then when you get to the East and then you get the West, so I noticed that people from the East and the North tend to be real straightforward a little bit more, whereas people in the Central Kingdom are super polite. But everybody was hospitable, everybody was hospitable. But I noticed of course, most people can speak English. A lot of people speak Luganda. That's one of the main languages. That's an African language spoken in Uganda. But then when I was talk to some people in the North and use some Luganda words with them, they didn't know any Luganda. They was like, I don't speak that. I'm from the North. I'm like, oh, okay. So I was, a little taken back. I was like, oh, okay. So I see this, so yeah, I mean, you go into Kenya, going from Uganda into Kenya, some of the same tribes are in Uganda. They're also in Kenya. But Kenyans have a bit different demeanor about them, even than Ugandans. They tend to be kind of like business-like. Ugandans are super friendly, chill, laid back. I guess you could say Kenyans are to a degree, but I could tell they're a little bit more just, okay, timely business. Everything has to follow a particular order. So, yeah, definitely there are different cultures. And you're right. A lot of times as African Americans, because in America, our culture, like being black in America is actually a culture. Black isn't just a color, it's a culture. But our kind of basis, because we were grouped by our skin color, is that when we see another black person, we automatically think, oh, this is another black person. They're part of the family, unless you disappoint us somehow. And so a lot of times we take that mentality with us when we deal with other African or other groups of black people. And we have to, just realize that, there are distinct cultures. You're dealing with another cultural group of people who, even on the continent, just as you well stated, even amongst the continent in the same country at times, you can see a clear distinction of cultures and people's sense of protecting their inner circle of culture amongst even other Africans. So a lot of times it's not, I don't think, an issue that they have with African Americans, because to be honest with you, every time I've been to Africa, it seems like a lot of people are interested in who I am and why am I there as a black American. I think it intrigues a lot of Africans. So I think a lot of Africans that I know do watch American culture. They even follow black culture. Especially when I was in South Africa, I noticed that a lot as well. So, it's you just got to, get to know people, know that black American culture it has its own distinctions from African culture. Now, we could see some similarities. There's some similarities and stuff like that. But, but in America, as I stated, unless you grew up in a place that's really diverse with experience of different groups of black people from the Caribbean, from Africa, and unless you're really understanding of that, a lot of us see, oh, you're black, and we think you're gonna think the way that we think, what I'm saying, about everything, and it's just, that's just not how it works. There's diversity within the black race, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and that's very true. I mean that our diversity and our differences, I mean, they will never change. I don't think that, I mean, African Americans might want us to fit a certain, like to fit a certain culture that they want us to fit in, or they want us to fit a certain mold that they have preconceived in their minds. But it's not going to happen. Africans are going to be Africans, and I feel like what we want to do is like, it's so like, and that's one of the things that will come up. Like, we are not superior to African Americans. What we are actually bringing is something that they have been locked out of. Like, we are bringing what was not brought with them when they brought them here, or what was lost over the years. We are bringing it back, and so that's what they see. That's what sounds like a conflict, because it's like a brand new thing, like a hatred thing. No, it's not. It's like, I don't know if they want, and I know that there's a lot of issues. Because I had like, okay, we are here to harvest where we did not plant. Like, Americans have gone through a lot of pain, African Americans, and now it's time for reparations. It's time for benefits. And guess Africans are here too, taking benefits and reparations. And they're like, no, those reparations don't belong to you Africans, they belong to African Americans. And that is one of the arguments out there. Like, we are here at the wrong time. Like, if we really needed to be here, we needed to be here during the times when the struggle was real. But now we are here when it wasn't, when it is no longer a real struggle, when it's now time for benefits. What do you say about that? Like, do you also feel like,
I think about,
do you feel like we don't deserve what you guys should be
No, I feel like, listen, get all that you can get. You know what I mean? It's another black man able to succeed. You know what I'm saying? Like, the struggle was for the liberation of black people, and because we were brought from Africa, okay, now it's kind of like Joseph being sold into slavery in the Bible. He was sold into slavery in Egypt, a superpower nation. He was imprisoned, lied on, cheated on, kind of like the black experience, you know what I mean? Wrongfully imprisoned. But then he comes out of this prison and he's raised up pretty high in a superpower nation. And these resources that we have been given as black Americans and stuff like that, just like Joseph's brothers and the other nations came back into Egypt during the time of famine. If our brothers and sisters, a lot of them are immigrating here because they have some challenges back home. No, that's we're being reconnected to our family, like Joseph was being reconnected with his brothers. When his brothers saw him, they thought he was an Egyptian. They didn't even know he was a Hebrew. You see what I'm saying? Because he was raised up in a separate system, although they were from the same household. So he didn't harbor any grudge against his brothers. He instead loved his brothers and did what he could do to help his brothers out, and so that they could succeed and grow as a nation. So this is the right time for Africans to come. This is the right time. I don't want Africans had to deal with the ordeals of colonial colonization. They've had to deal with dictatorships. They've had to do all kind of issues. So if we can come here together and meet each other and be a blessing to one another, why not? You know what I mean? So that's the mentality that we should have, is that God has blessed us with more than enough, and therefore there's enough to share. And hey, why not share it with our brothers and sisters from the continent, from our motherland?
Yeah, thank you very much about that. I mean, I agree with that 100%. Do you think that the Africans that are coming to America are quality Africans, for lack of a better word?
I think so.
I think so?
I mean, yeah, I think so. Because, I believe so. Every African that I know is hardworking, whether they're working as a janitor or whether they're working as a scientist. You know what I mean? I've met plenty, like I said, in my apartment building. There were plenty of Africans there. They were cool. I would talk, ask them questions, and just share with them my experience or listen to them. But yeah, I would say for the most part, very much so quality people. I think Nigerians are the highest educated group of people here in America. I think that's wonderful. Then you got other groups of Africans coming. You got your Somalians. You don't have as many Ugandans, but around the Massachusetts, you have more Ugandans like yourself. There's Kenyans, Ghanaians, Tanzanians. I even saw there was even a South African family that lived in my building. And usually you don't see too many South Africans. Usually they don't typically leave their country, but there was even a South African family in my building. And yeah, a lot of Africans that I know are pastors and evangelists. They're preaching the gospel. They're business people. They work different jobs. They're in university campuses. We got people I'm seeing with African last names playing sports like American football, in the NFL. Some are playing in the NBA. So like Andre Iguodala. So yes, these are quality people. All people have quality and value in them. But if you came here as a refugee, if you came here on a student visa, but yeah, these are quality people that many of them already know the language, and they bring with them a unique dynamic, another unique expression of blackness.
Okay, that's very good. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
But okay,
yeah.
What do you think about the opportunities for black people? Do you think that there's enough for all of us? Like, I don't know. I'll bring the statistics up next time. Like, because some people think that, hey, these guys are taking our jobs. They're taking the best jobs. They're taking our, like when Africans come here, and I have to say that of course there are those who like come because of a refugee program. Those ones are unfiltered. Like probably you might get some. I mean, for lack of a better word, some very quality Africans and some who might not be considered high quality Africans because if you have such a thing as a standard, what kind of education they have and what kind of status they had before they come here. Mm-hmm. Now we do have those who come here because they come from a high status. If their status is either an education status or it is a family status that they bring with them. Mm-hmm. There are those who come because they are from rich families. They are not poor. They're already rich in Africa. They are coming here because they can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true.
And then there are those who come here because they are highly educated and they get scholarships to come and study here. And so, but then they stay here. And then some African Americans are like, okay, these guys come here and take advantage of what we have and become so great, but they are not our friends and they are not adding any value. They don't even bring back to the African American communities. The question is, when Africans take advantage of what is here, are they taking from what an African American should have taken, or they're just taking from what no one is taking advantage of? Like, are they subtracting from the African American pool, or from a pool which is available to anybody in the world?
No, I don't think so at all. I mean, if you want to take advantage of whatever opportunity there is, if you're here and you live through the system, you know how to work and navigate yourself through it, then you probably, anybody that I know that's Black American that wants something in life, that's going for it, they go for it. You know what I mean? They take advantage of the opportunity. They don't sit around and complain that somebody else is taking an opportunity for them. You know what I mean? So I believe there's enough opportunities. What probably needs to happen, or what would be a great thing to happen, is if Black people, irregardless as to whether they were born in America or if they come over from Africa, if we could create for ourselves such a large economy where we can hire each other and really benefit each other through creating our own businesses. You know, like I know there's this one black-owned bank that was having troubles here in America, and then so a Ghanaian bank, a bank in Ghana, bought that bank to keep that bank alive. You know, and I like that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, okay, good. Another black-owned group of people from Ghana came in, stepped in with this black-owned bank here in America that was struggling, and I think that's beautiful. You know, I mean, they get the benefit in Ghana from the U.S., the strength of the American currency, and then we keep this black-owned bank in operation in the community. So, yeah, I mean, you know, you can't fall. You just like if a black man here takes advantage of an opportunity that another black man is unwilling to take advantage of, you're gonna get mad at that dude for pursuing something that you didn't want to pursue. You know, you can't do that. You know what I mean? You can only, I think you always have an advantage in most instances. You have the home court advantage when you live somewhere. Now, yes, there could be things that a local population may be struggling with, whereas someone, like you stated, coming over who has, they came on a scholarship, you know, this person is doing well in school, they come here, and maybe somebody else is coming up through a system of maybe a poor educational system, maybe they have certain struggles, they didn't get the help that they needed, and so that they're kind of lagging behind, and then someone from another country comes in who's at a different skill set level and able to take advantage of an opportunity. When I go to Africa, and there's quite a number of, you know, I'm sure you've watched YouTubers from America or from Canada who are black that live in Uganda and some other countries, and some of them do quite well over there in Uganda. And, you know, you talk to the average Ugandan will tell you, man, it's tough here, and it is tough. I'm not going to minimize that at all. But, you know, you got some African Americans that may go over into a country like Uganda and do quite well, and they might be able to take advantage of the fact that they have U.S. currency coming in, and then they're able to create an opportunity, you know. So are they taking away opportunities from the people who live there locally? I think a lot of black Americans, when they go into Africa and they create a business, I think a lot of them want to see other people around them succeed. So they want to hire people. They want to create those opportunities and stuff like that, because it's easier to do it now. You know, you just take the U.S. Capitol and you can start that business that may have been harder to start here in America. You know what I mean? Or something like that. So, you know, yeah, the immigrant is taking my job. You know, you hear people cry about that here in America. They'll say the Mexicans are taking their jobs, and, you know, they say, well, build a wall to keep them out. It's ludicrous, man. Not in this country. I think there is enough opportunity to go around for people who want it, or people who are in a position to take advantage of it. And, you know, if you celebrate someone else's success, then you'll start seeing that success come into your life.
Right. That is great. So I also heard something. They say that the Africans that come here are cowards. That the Africans you're getting into the United States are cowards. They have run away from poverty. They have run away from war. They have run away from corruption. They have run away from all the problems instead of fixing them. That you know, the Africans you're getting in America are the ones that are cowards, that can't fix anything, that don't solve anything. They just run away, and they will run away from here if things go bad. That you can't trust them. They're always running away from problems instead of fixing them. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I mean, try to live through another man's shoes. You know, you put yourself in that person's position, and what they're dealing with and faced with day to day, and let's see what you'll do in that situation. You know what I mean? So, like, I can't say, oh man, you know, you left Ghana, man, and I went on Ghana vacation. I went to Accra for a 2-week vacation. I had a wonderful time there, man. What's wrong with you? Why are you leaving Accra? Well, I went there on a 2-week vacation. Probably stayed in some nice hotel, you know, eating the best food, going to the best restaurants. going to the hotels, going to the beaches. Okay, having the time of my life, but to grow up there in those circumstances, you didn't grow up in those particular circumstances. You're not having lights cut off every other day. You're not dealing with very low wages, even if you got a certain level of education. You're not faced with some of the challenges, or if you lose a job, there's no unemployment benefits to rely on. So you're not living in those circumstances. So you can't judge that person because you haven't been in those experiences. It's just like an African American that's struggling here in America, and then the African comes here and does well and looks down on them. Well, you didn't necessarily go through all of that person's experiences. Perhaps teachers held that person back because of their skin color. Maybe they got a bad education. They weren't getting the help they need. There's all kind of little nuances involved in certain levels of oppression, and also just challenges that can be a little bit more challenging to navigate when you're put in that situation. So no, I don't think at all that we're getting cowards. These are resilient people. These people, listen, it's not easy to get a visa from an African country to come to America. Just on a tourist visa, it's not hard. Just to come here and spend 90 days on a tourist visa so it takes a relentless type of a person. I think the people that come are some of the most relentless people. That's why when they come, they do so well. I know a lot of people in Uganda that would love to come to America, but they get disappointed one or two times of trying and they give up. So the people that came are people that stuck with it. I don't know if their families bribed some. I don't know what they did. Okay, I'm not going to even paint one picture of how a person get. I do know it's challenging to leave those countries to come to America. So you're getting somebody you're getting somebody who perseveres a lot. That's why a lot of Africans that come here, then when they come here, they know they got to help their family back home. So they're going to do everything that they can to do their best so they can send money back home. So these are people coming over with a mission. These are people coming over who are very perseverant and resilient. And like I said, walk in somebody's shoes for a few years. Don't go over there with your American salary. Don't come over there with go over there, live off of a local salary, go through the local issues, and then tell me you probably bro, this is too much. This is too much to do it this way, But,
right, go there, get some malaria for you, get some get some insecurities, the government chasing you and hitting you with tear gas.
Right. You go over there, you start speaking out too much against something, or you go into a government, or be unsure of life tomorrow. Or you go into a hospital and they're not going to work on you or help you. Yeah. There's no medicine, or they won't start helping you out until you start showing them money. Yeah, you bribe them. So, I mean, I'm not saying that there's not problems in America. There's different kind of issues we got here, but those are some those are challenges. You go to a hospital and there's no medicine, in some hospitals, especially out in the villages, right. There's private hospitals and stuff, but I remember I went to go pray with some people in some hospitals. Man, I was like, man, I need to lay hands on this hospital. And I mean, like, I'm not trying to down it or nothing, but I was like, it blew me away. Right. I said, my God, so if you live in those circumstances, tell me what you're made of if you've had to grow up in that type of situation. And some people just say, you know what? I know a young lady, she moved to Holland, and I try to get her to look at things positively, but she's like, man, basically she's, when I listen to her, she's just frustrated. She's just kind of fed up. She feels like for her, things will probably never change. So she went to Holland, but I think Africans are some of the most resilient people on this planet.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And I mean, but at the same time, African Americans are complaining because of that. They feel they are lazy, or Africans are calling them lazy. Like, I don't know if Africans call African Americans lazy, but I hear that all the time. And I don't know if it is true, and I don't know why they say that. I don't know what their yardstick is, and I don't know what they.
It's about Africans that may say that African Americans are lazy.
Yes, I mean African Americans complain that Africans call them lazy. Is
Oh
that
yeah, I had a
something
yeah, I had
you've heard?
I was on this WhatsApp group one time. I'm still on the group. Okay, so it's a friend of mine's group in Kenya, and so it's like a marriage group. So I just asked them a question like, "What are you guys' perceptions about African Americans?" So first they didn't want to tell me, and then from this group, they said, "Well, a lot of people think that African Americans are lazy." I was kind of shocked. So then there's one guy who had spent some time here in America, but he's now back in Kenya. Started, instead of saying no, that's not true, he started confirming it. Oh yeah, they are lazy, and this is. So I got upset. I got on him. I said some things to him that I shouldn't have said. I apologized later on. But then I asked somebody else, another Kenyan from that group, and they said, no, we don't think that. So maybe certain people think that. And like my wife said that in Haiti, some people thought that Americans were lazy or African Americans were until they came here. Until they came here and saw how hard, how challenging it can be, and how much you actually have to work a lot of times, and how high the cost of living is and stuff like that, and challenges that you may face in the system. So I think a lot of times it's lack of understanding. I think a lot of Africans look at America as like, the promised land. It's the land of milk and honey. Money grows on trees. I'm going to just go to the ATM machine. Money's going to come out, even if I didn't put no money in. A lot of people have that mentality that all Americans are rich, everybody's doing well. And so, or that, maybe because we're not doing all the hard labor type of work, they say, oh, you guys are just lazy because you're not toiling, So I think it's just some people who say those kinds of statements just have a misunderstanding, but I don't think it's the majority of people who think that way. But, I was kind of shocked when that group said that. So yeah, you got some people who say things like that, and I guess, maybe from their perspective, they might think that until I read this article, this guy, he's from an African country. I can't remember which one. And his mom used to always ask him for money and sometimes even lie to get money from him when she was living in Africa. But when she came to visit her son in America and she saw how hard he actually worked, to pay for his apartment in New York and stuff like that, she was like, she apologized to him and said, I just thought you had it so easy here, and that when the times that you were saying you didn't have money to give, I just thought you were being stingy or something like that. So then her whole tune changed when she realized how expensive things are, what the cost of living is like. A lot of people end up working not only one job, they might have 2 or 3 jobs, or they're working overtime. You know what I mean? So, it's all in our perspective. Sometimes the grass can look greener on the other side, and you're like, oh man, why are these African Americans complaining? Maybe that's why, it's like, why they're complaining. But until you go live in that other man's day to day and experience certain things, that's when you begin to truly understand, But like you said, I mean, that was the only time I really heard that. And then from what my wife had shared with me, how some people might think that, So, yeah, some people, like I said, are just have their own, little ignorances or whatever, biases or whatever else, So,
Yeah,
but,
I had an experience of that, right? When I was in Africa, my ex who brought me here, she used to give me like 20 bucks every other week, and it was not small. To me, it was good money, right? And I used to use some of that money for weird things like like sports betting, that stuff.
right, yeah, over there, that's huge. Yeah.
and I was hoping to multiply it, and then sometimes I feel like, oh, why does she give me only $20? She's an American, she should give me $100 or something. And sometimes she gave me $100, you know what I mean? But she gave me like $20 very many times, like. And then when I came over here, I experienced exactly what you just said. I did realize then that, oh my God, like Americans work so hard, like to survive, especially depending on whether they made good decisions in their life or not. Some who made very horrible decisions are cleaning it up, and it is taking forever to do that. Like they have too much debt, maybe a student loan or something, or that they are struggling with, and they don't have maybe they are not employable in some situations because of a record or something like that. But they're working so hard, and like you said, some have 2 jobs, some even have 3 jobs. I honestly cannot work 2 jobs, but I see like some people have to work 3 jobs to make ends meet. And then when I realized that, okay, $20 was too much money. She sent me $20 every other week. That is too much money, because she has a ton of bills. I looked at her bills and I was like, she hardly saves anything. She has kids to take care of. She has house to pay, car payment, all that stuff, and she still sent me $20. So I was very grateful. And that is something that Africans don't realize. Africans over there will inbox you and ask you for money, and you don't even respond to them. You don't even reply. But I already know what they are talking about me. They're like over there saying, Nicholas is mean. He doesn't reply my messages. He doesn't talk to me. He doesn't give me any money. He gave me money once last year or something. He has never given me money again. He's ignoring my messages. But they don't know what is on our tables. They don't know that little money they think is little. For us, it's not little. It's little, but it adds up and pays a bill.
Yeah, it can add. You're so right. I mean, like we might say, okay, that tuition is small compared to what tuition is here.
Right.
You might help somebody out or whatever, but if I'm constantly giving out $50, $100, $80, $20, $30 all the time, that can add up. And then you got bills, you got, like, okay, I own a house, but it's not like owning a house in Uganda where you probably have that home built, and once you pay for it, it's paid for. No, I'm paying a mortgage. I got insurance on the house, insurance on my car. I'm paying a car note. I do things with my son, activities for him, cell phone bill, electric bill, all these utilities. And these things are not cheap. The rent, all that stuff here is very high in America. Groceries, all that stuff. So, that can add up,
right.
and people sometimes just don't understand that. Or you might have student loans, you got an education, but you got you got a mortgage size student loan bill that you got to pay. So it's like you have all these other bills and obligations to pay. And, yes, we may have a lot of things that only rich people may have in your country, but we're paying for it. A lot of times we're in debt, or have bills. It can be I try to live by that principle. If I have it to help someone, like the Bible says, but I also have to be mindful of God gives bread to the eater and seed to the sower. And if I constantly give, not intelligently, then I can end up giving my bread. Now, what happens if I starve? If I starve and I can't help nobody now, so, that's true, man. Is what, now I think I explained to somebody once, I broke it down into their currency, how much my bills were. They were like, oh, I said, yeah. They said, that's a lot of money. I'm like, yeah,
yeah, and I've not broken down that to my family, even my family. Even in my own family, you can find that everybody in the family is inboxing you. Your sisters are inboxing you. Your mom is inboxing you. Your nephews are inboxing you. Your cousins are inboxing you. Every single person is inboxing you. And you have those other bills that are on your shoulder that you don't need anybody to inbox you about. You send those portions every single month. because they are on your shoulder. So, and they don't know whether you still even have the job, which you probably had last month, you know. And then we African men, we are not like American men, like in general, because African men keep secrets. We don't share everything. We don't tell everything. We keep things to ourselves. Like I can lose a job and my family will not know unless they ask me for money and pressure me to give me money. And then I tell them, hey, I don't even have a job. You know what I mean? But if they don't ask me for money, I'm probably never going to tell them I lost that job. I'm going to shut up and try and look for another job. By the time they ask for the money, I have another job. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you're like African men are used to not whining and complaining, but to just pick up the pieces, get up and move on and find a solution. Like, don't sit there and cry and look for sympathy and inbox people and tell them I pray for me, or go on Facebook, I just lost my job, I need prayers, you know? No, African men will shut up under so much stress and try and fix it by themselves, you know? So, yeah, and they never know. So, yeah, anyways, this show is going to come to an end. Like we said, we want it to be like 1 hour. And we still have like that video to go over, and
I want to see that video.
We need to fix. I'm gonna fix the sound before you even get off this Skype. We're gonna do that tonight, so that next time we should be having that solved once and for all. But yes, you have a final word for Black people in general, African and African American.
Yeah, I mean, my final word is, I just hope, my prayer is that we as a people, those who want to come together, build each other up, love each other, be a blessing to each other, whether we're on the continent or whether we're here in America. So I just, that's my goal, and I encourage you all to keep building with each other, get to know one another, and let's build this family reunion, because if God is bringing Africans now voluntarily to America, not on slave ships this time, but coming here as people who want to be here, then I believe that's something of a divine arrangement, like a family reunion is taking place. And so let's make sure that reunion, we embrace one another's differences, but we love each other and learn from each other.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, for me, I will say this, and I will not stop saying this. I have met great African Americans in America, and some of them are my friends, including you, Scott. And even at work, the most supportive people, Black people, coming to me and happy that I'm there. I'm like the only African that is in my trade. I don't know, like from Africa. Maybe a couple of us or 3 of us, who are from Africa, like in the trades I'm doing, and the African Americans are there, and they are not very many either, but they come to me and they come to us, and they are like very happy to see that happening. Like you've come from the pits of Africa, from all the suffering that Scott, to a job like some of our jobs, and we kind of have a union, like an unofficial union, whereby we know we are there for each other. They tell you things you should and shouldn't do, things to look out for and watch out for, because you're Black. You know what I mean? So they're like, hey man, you better watch out for this. So you better be careful about this. You know what I mean? Because they're Black people, and so many people like that I have met, who love Black people, who love you just because you are Black, and when you're from Africa, they love that, and they are very happy to have you around. And then, of course, there are idiots as well, on across the board. And those ones will always be there. It doesn't matter which race.
You're always gonna have an idiot.
So I will just say that, hey, African Americans, we love you and we don't hate you. There's not a single time where we, maybe where there's an African who has done something stupid, who has said something very stupid. It does not represent every African. We are different. Like if you have been on this show since we started, you will remember that we say that we have different languages and different cultures. There's some uncultured tribes, very uncultured groups in Africa, and they have probably hurt your feelings. That doesn't represent all of us, and we apologize on behalf of every other African who has done that. So we love you, and we want to end this show and see you again on the next show.